Wait, did anyone expect this twist before the derby? What if I told you Chelsea's entire game plan just changed in one dramatic moment? For weeks, fans feared the worst. The build-up, the tension, the uncertainty. But now, one player's shocking return could flip the entire Premier League narrative on its head. And trust me, the impact is bigger than you think. Because what Cole Palmer brings back to Chelsea isn't just creativity, it's chaos, confidence and a whole new threat Arsenal might not be ready for. We'll explain everything in this video, step by step. Don't skip it. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle, because Stamford Bridge is about to roar back to life. And Chelsea fans, you can finally exhale. Yes, you heard it right. Cole Palmer is fit and ready for the blockbuster clash against Arsenal. And suddenly this London derby feels like a powder keg waiting for a spark. Just when it looked like Chelsea's season was teetering on the edge, when doubts swirled around injuries, form and consistency, in walks the calmest man in blue, the conductor of the chaos, Cole Palmer, shaking off concerns and stepping straight into the spotlight like he never left. This is the man who's turned pressure into performance, who's made penalties look like casual warm-ups, and who's carried Chelsea on his back more than once this season. And now, he returns for the big one. Chelsea fans are buzzing. Arsenal fans are suddenly chewing their nails because Palmer isn't just a player, he's a problem, a big one, the kind that slices through high-press systems, punishes defensive lapses and creates magic out of absolutely nothing. You can see the smiles returning at Cobham, the confidence rising, the belief whispering through the hallways. We've got our maestro back. But don't forget the drama. Chelsea have been fighting through injuries, inconsistency and frustrating draws. Arsenal have been pushing for the top, hungry to prove they belong at the summit. It's blue versus red, skill versus speed, composure versus chaos, and Palmer's presence just flipped the script. Picture it now, Stamford Bridge under the lights, the crowd vibrating, Arsenal marching in with swagger, and then from the tunnel out comes Palmer, cool, calm and ready to write another chapter in this electrifying rivalry. So get ready for fireworks, for heart-stopping moments, for the kind of Premier League showdown that makes the world pause. Cole Palmer is back. Chelsea are reloaded and Arsenal just felt the temperature rise by 10 degrees. This isn't just a match, this is a statement, this is London, this is football at its finest. Cole Palmer's return boosts Chelsea's attacking confidence in ways that go far beyond simply adding another talented player to the lineup, because when Palmer is on the pitch, everything about Chelsea's forward movement feels sharper, more organised and undeniably more dangerous. Throughout the season, Chelsea have often struggled with consistency in the final third, lacking that one player who can slow the game down, raise the tempo at will and make intelligent decisions under pressure. Palmer has become exactly that figure, the creative heartbeat who gives the team structure in possession and unpredictability around the box, and his presence immediately elevates the confidence of those around him. When he receives the ball, teammates push forward with belief rather than hesitation, knowing he has the vision to slip passes through tight lines, combine quickly in tight spaces and create moments out of nothing. This trust transforms the rhythm of Chelsea's attack, allowing wide players to take more risks, allowing midfielders to step higher and enabling the team to maintain pressure instead of recycling the ball backward in uncertainty. Palmer's calmness becomes contagious, especially in high-pressure situations where Chelsea have previously shown nervousness or rushed their decisions, because he brings that rare ability to make the difficult look routine, whether it's a disguised pass between defenders, a sudden shift of pace to open up space, or the composure to finish chances with clinical precision. His return also impacts Chelsea psychologically, as the team has become heavily reliant on his creativity and leadership despite his young age, and having him available for a massive derby injects a level of belief that influences every area of the pitch. Strikers make runs earlier, knowing he will find them, fullbacks overlap with conviction, knowing combinations will form, and even defenders gain a sense of security, knowing the team has an outlet who won't lose the ball cheaply. This confidence is crucial in a high-stakes match like Chelsea versus Arsenal, where transitions happen in a split second and one moment of quality can flip the game's momentum. Palmer's presence forces opposition defenders to stay tighter and more cautious, which in turn opens spaces for Chelsea's other attackers, making their entire front line more dynamic and less predictable. His influence extends off the ball as well, as he presses intelligently, directs teammates into pressing triggers and helps maintain the team's compactness, giving Chelsea a tactical cohesion they often lack without him. The emotional impact of his return is equally significant, especially considering Chelsea's recent struggles with injuries and inconsistency, where fans and players alike have faced weeks of uncertainty about who would step up. Palmer returning for a major showdown sends a message that Chelsea are not coming into the derby weakened or hesitant, but reinvigorated and ready to challenge Arsenal's defensive structure with renewed purpose. His performances all season have shown maturity far beyond expectations, and his confidence radiates through the squad, lifting the energy in training, sharpening the team's transitions and encouraging more expressive play. Chelsea's attack becomes more fluid, more inventive and more synchronised whenever Palmer is fit, and his comeback naturally reignites the belief that the team can control big moments, manage the tempo of the match and impose their style rather than reacting to the opponent's rhythm. Arsenal's defensive setup faces a major tactical challenge because Cole Palmer's return instantly shifts the dynamics of how Chelsea operate in the final third, forcing Arsenal to rethink their marking schemes, pressing patterns and defensive transitions in ways they might not have fully prepared for. Palmer is not a traditional winger or a straightforward attacking midfielder. He moves between the lines, drops deep to receive the ball, drifts wide to create overloads and appears in half spaces where defenders are caught deciding whether to track him or hold their shape. This fluidity disrupts Arsenal's usual defensive rhythm, particularly because their system relies heavily on structured pressing and coordinated movement between midfield and the back line. If just one player steps out at the wrong moment to chase Palmer, Chelsea instantly gain access to pockets of space that can turn into dangerous opportunities. His ability to attract multiple defenders and still find the right pass forces Arsenal to stay compact. But staying compact against Chelsea's overlapping fullbacks and quick wide players creates its own problems, squeezing the defensive block until it becomes difficult to maintain both solidity and balance. What makes the challenge even more demanding is Palmer's intelligence off the ball, as he constantly scans the pitch, sensing where Arsenal's shape might stretch, where a defender has shifted too far, or where a midfielder has committed slightly earlier than intended. Arsenal's defenders will have to communicate relentlessly, switching marks, handing off responsibilities and maintaining discipline in areas where Palmer thrives on exploiting even the smallest lapses. If Arsenal choose to defend aggressively and press high, Palmer becomes the player who can break the press with a single clever touch or a perfectly weighted pass that bypasses 2 or 3 lines of pressure. If Arsenal choose to sit deeper and protect the penalty area, then Palmer becomes even more dangerous as he has time to orchestrate, pick passes and force defenders to step out of their comfort zones. This dual threat challenges Arsenal to find a balance that is incredibly hard to sustain for 90 minutes, especially against the Chelsea side, motivated by his return. Another major element Arsenal must account for is how Palmer amplifies Chelsea's combinations in tight areas. He thrives in quick 1-2s, darting movements and deceptive body feints that draw opponents into traps before releasing the ball into space. Arsenal's defensive unit, which normally functions with strong line discipline, will be pushed into situations where instinct and split-second decisions matter more than structure, and Palmer's calmness in chaos gives Chelsea a significant advantage in those unpredictable moments. His presence also allows Chelsea's wingers and striker to play more aggressively, making diagonal runs behind the defence more frequently, which puts added stress on Arsenal's centre-backs and forces their full-backs to hesitate before pushing forward. Arsenal's midfielders face an equally complex problem because Palmer's positioning drags them into areas they don't naturally want to defend, pulling them away from central zones and opening channels for Chelsea's transitions. This means Arsenal must dedicate 1 or even 2 players to monitor his movement at all times, effectively reshaping their defensive workload and reducing their ability to commit numbers forward. With every adjustment Arsenal make, Palmer's adaptability poses another layer of difficulty, turning the match into a tactical chess game where one misread movement could unravel an otherwise stable defensive plan. Chelsea's injury struggles shift with Palmer's comeback, because throughout the season the team has endured wave after wave of fitness setbacks that disrupted rhythm, consistency and overall cohesion, leaving the squad constantly adjusting to new lineups, new partnerships and unfamiliar roles on short notice. These interruptions created a sense of instability, especially in the attacking phase where creativity relies heavily on understanding, timing and chemistry. Without their main creator, Chelsea often found themselves lacking a dependable outlet who could slow the game down when needed, or accelerate it in moments that required sharpness and imagination. Matches that should have been controlled slipped into chaotic patterns, and promising attacks broke down because there was no clear point of connection linking midfield to the front line. Palmer's absence magnified these issues, exposing just how reliant the team had become on his ability to dictate tempo and manage transitions. His return represents more than just one player becoming available again. It signals a shift in mood across the squad as the balance of the team is restored, allowing others to return to their more natural positions and responsibilities. Teammates who previously had to assume creative burdens they were not fully equipped to handle can now focus on their strengths, knowing that Palmer provides the glue that binds their movements together. Strikers feel more confident making early or risky runs because they trust that the pass will arrive with the right weight and timing. Midfielders can play simpler, more controlled football because they know Palmer will handle the more complex decision-making under pressure. Even the fullbacks benefit as they can push forward with more purpose, aware that Palmer reads their movements instinctively and coordinates combinations that stretch the opposition's defensive structure. This shift also impacts the emotional and psychological environment at Chelsea, which has suffered from uncertainty as injuries piled up and forced continuous tactical adjustments. When key players repeatedly fall out of the lineup, a team can lose belief in its stability, worrying not just about form but also about resilience. Palmer's comeback provides a sense of reassurance, a reminder that the team's core identity is still intact despite the setbacks. His presence naturally raises standards in training, intensifies competition for places, and instills confidence that the team can navigate high-pressure moments with greater clarity and control. When he is available, the squad feels more complete, more prepared, and more capable of executing the manager's vision. Moreover, Palmer's return shifts opposition approaches as teams facing Chelsea must once again account for his creativity and composure, which indirectly helps his teammates, who may have been targeted more aggressively during his absence. Defenders who previously doubled up on Chelsea's wingers must now divide their attention, opening more lanes and opportunities in the final third. This redistribution of pressure allows Chelsea's attack to function more fluidly, reducing the predictability that crept into their play when injuries forced them into a more limited approach. Chelsea's struggles throughout the season created an environment where every injured player felt like a major blow, but Palmer's return changes the narrative from survival mode to possibility, giving the squad a renewed sense of direction, rhythm, and attacking identity that had been missing during the stretches. Without him, the derby's intensity rises with both teams at near full strength, because a match of this magnitude always thrives on the energy, the personalities, and the tactical battles created. When the very best players are available on both sides, and when key figures return from injury, the entire atmosphere transforms from a standard league fixture into a full-throttle showdown laid with pressure, rivalry, and raw emotion. Chelsea and Arsenal already share one of football's most fiercely contested city rivalries, but when both squads step onto the pitch with their strongest lineups, the quality of football escalates and every moment becomes heavier, sharper, and more meaningful. The presence of star players on each side influences not only the confidence of the teams, but also the mindset of the supporters, who walk into the stadium knowing they are about to witness the highest version of their club, free from excuses, free from compromises, and ready to fight with full force. With major talents returning, coaches suddenly gain access to their preferred systems, their most trusted combinations, and the tactical wrinkles they couldn't previously implement without their key personnel. In such a derby, every duel gains weight because the players directly involved represent the best each team has to offer. Midfield battles become more intense as both sides field their strongest ball winners and creators, making space harder to find and transitions faster and more dangerous. The front lines play with greater conviction because they have their primary creators behind them and their most reliable finishers ahead of them, which heightens the threat level on every attack. Defenders must operate with near-perfect focus, knowing that one misstep against a top-class opponent could decide the tempo of the entire match. When both teams are near full strength, the match becomes a tactical chessboard where every move is met with an equal and immediate response, raising the stakes with each passing minute. The psychological component also intensifies because players want to prove themselves not just to their fans but also to their rivals across the city, knowing that bragging rights, momentum and narrative all hinge on this performance. There is a different energy in the air when both squads are healthy, passes are played with more confidence, tackles are contested with greater fire, and every player senses that the small moments will define the outcome. Coaches make sharper decisions because they trust their full squad. Substitutions become more impactful because the bench is stacked with quality, and the flow of the game becomes more unpredictable and dynamic. This level of competitiveness feeds into the crowd, which responds to every attack, every clearance, every near miss with electrifying intensity that pushes players to operate at their maximum. When both Chelsea and Arsenal are at or near full strength, the pace of the match increases dramatically because neither team wants to concede control or give the other even the slightest opportunity to dictate the flow of the game. This leads to faster transitions, more complex build-up sequences, and a constant battle for territorial dominance that forces every player on the pitch to remain locked, making the derby feel like a true heavyweight clash rather than a tactical compromise caused by injury absences. The presence of elite talent raises the strategic possibilities for each side, ensuring the match unfolds with layers of depth, unpredictability and emotion that define the very best Premier League rivalries, ultimately amplifying the intensity to a level that resonates long after the final whistle. Palmer's creativity could decide crucial momentum swings because he plays with a rare blend of vision, composure and unpredictability that can instantly shift the rhythm of a match, especially in a tense derby where both teams are fighting for control and small details often determine the outcome. In big games, momentum doesn't move slowly, it flips in sharp, sudden bursts, usually triggered by a moment of brilliance or a single decision that catches the opposition off balance. Palmer is exactly the type of player capable of producing these moments, whether through a clever pass that breaks two defensive lines, a subtle feint that opens space where none existed, or a perfectly timed run into a pocket of the pitch that forces defenders to react in ways they didn't plan for. His style of play has a destabilising quality for opponents because they must constantly adjust their shape to track his movements, and this constant recalibration creates openings that Chelsea can exploit. His creativity becomes even more influential during phases when Chelsea struggle to maintain control or when Arsenal start applying sustained pressure, as Palmer has a unique calmness under duress that allows him to slow the game down at will. Players around him feed off this composure, regaining confidence in possession and finding the courage to push forward instead of retreating under pressure. One incisive pass from Palmer can transform a defensive situation into a dangerous counter-attack, flipping the emotional momentum of the match and forcing Arsenal to momentarily abandon their structure to recover. These shifts in energy are often what define derbies, where the crowd responds to every surge forward, and Palmer's ability to create these surges gives Chelsea a powerful psychological weapon. What makes him particularly dangerous is that opponents cannot predict whether he will shoot, pass or glide past the defender, and this unpredictability forces defenders into hesitation at critical moments. Hesitation in a high-intensity match is costly because once a defender is caught flat-footed, the entire chain reaction unfolds behind them, pulling midfielders out of position, opening up lanes on the wings and allowing Chelsea's attackers more freedom to operate. Palmer thrives in exploiting these micro moments, reading the defender's body language and choosing the exact option that maximises the threat. These actions may appear small in isolation, but each one nudges the momentum toward Chelsea, accumulating pressure on Arsenal and shifting the emotional balance of the game. Additionally, Palmer's influence in set pieces and transitional phases can be decisive, as he offers precision in dead ball situations and quick decision making in broken play, creating opportunities that can lead to sudden momentum spikes. When Chelsea gain even a small foothold in the match, Palmer's creativity magnifies it, turning half chances into real chances and turning moments of control into sustained dominance. This capacity to dictate the tempo and reshape the psychological landscape of the match makes him one of the most influential players on the pitch, especially in clashes where momentum is fluid and neither side is willing to concede ground. His creativity acts like a catalyst, propelling Chelsea forward at key junctures and ensuring the team can seize control when the match feels most volatile. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe.